On May 15, 2025, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office quietly published its fiscal year 2025 Consolidated Annual Report, roughly 2 months past its statutory deadline. No press conference, no Pentagon briefing, just a PDF on a website. The report covers October 2023 through September 2024 and documents 319 newly accepted cases. AARO resolved 114 of them, and in a move that drew immediate scrutiny, the office retroactively reclassified 238 older cases as probable satellite re-entry flares using a single analytical tool. The Pentagon's conclusion remains unchanged. No evidence of extraterrestrial technology. But the details inside this report tell a more complicated story than that headline suggests. Let's start with the raw data. AARO's total catalog now exceeds 1,252 cases dating back to 1996. Of the 319 new reports filed during FY2025, the majority came from military aviators and sensor operators. AARO resolved 114 cases with identifications: balloons, commercial drones, birds, atmospheric phenomena, and, most notably, satellites and space debris re-entering the atmosphere. That leaves over 200 new cases from this fiscal year alone still categorized as unresolved. The report states these remain open due to insufficient data to reach a definitive conclusion. That phrase, insufficient data, deserves scrutiny. It appears dozens of times throughout the document, and it is doing enormous analytical work. The most statistically significant development in this report is the retroactive resolution of 238 previously unresolved cases, all reclassified as probable satellite re-entry flares. AARO credits a new collaboration with the 18th Space Defense Squadron and a custom pattern-matching algorithm that cross-references reported sighting times and locations with known satellite re-entry windows. On paper, this is sound methodology, correlating civilian and military sighting reports with verified orbital debris tracks. But critics, including some congressional staffers, have raised a pointed question. What is the confidence threshold? The report uses the word probable. It does not say confirmed, and it does not disclose the algorithm's false positive rate. Reclassifying 238 cases with a single tool significantly changes AARO's resolution statistics, moving them from roughly 30% resolved to nearly 50%. That shift matters when the office's institutional credibility depends on demonstrating analytical progress. When AARO writes that a case remains unresolved due to insufficient data, what does that actually mean? In some instances, it means the original witness report lacked corroborating sensor data, no radar track, no infrared footage, no electronic signatures. Fair enough, but in other instances, according to the report's own language, multi-sensor military data exists and the object's behavior still defies conventional explanation. These cases aren't unsolved because nobody saw anything. They're unsolved because what was recorded doesn't match known platforms. The report does not distinguish between these two categories in its summary statistics. A case with zero data and a case with extensive but inexplicable data both land in the same column. That is a methodological choice, and it obscures more than it reveals. Buried in the report's operational summary is a reference that aligns with one of the most significant UAP events in recent military history: the ongoing drone-like incursions along the Virginia coast. Multiple Navy warships reported swarms of unidentified objects operating near restricted military zones in late 2023 and into 2024. These objects reportedly demonstrated coordinated flight behavior, operated in adverse weather, and evaded identification despite multi-ship sensor coverage. AARO acknowledges these events remain under investigation. The report does not resolve them. And yet the executive summary still concludes that no case to date suggests exotic or extraterrestrial technology. This is the central tension of the document. The conclusion is written as though it is comprehensive, while the body of the report concedes that the most operationally significant cases remain open. In September 2023, NASA's independent UAP study team recommended that any federal UAP analysis office adopt rigorous scientific standards, transparent methodology, external peer review, and calibrated sensor baselines. AARO's FY2025 report references its analytical framework but does not subject its conclusions to independent peer review. The satellite flare algorithm has not been published for external validation. The confidence intervals behind individual case resolutions are not disclosed. Dr. Jon Kirkpatrick, AARO's founding director, who departed in December 2023, built the initial framework. His successor, Dr. Jon Kosloski, has operated with significantly less public visibility. Kosloski has made few public statements, and AARO's engagement with Congress has drawn criticism from members of both parties for being, in the words of Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, insufficient. The report was due in March 2025. It arrived in May. The delay is not trivial. The National Defense Authorization Act mandates annual reporting to Congress on a specific timeline precisely because lawmakers, particularly Gillibrand, Senator Marco Rubio, and Representatives Tim Burchett and Anna Paulina Luna, fought to create oversight mechanisms that the Pentagon historically resisted. A late report, released without explanation for the delay, undermines the oversight structure that Congress built. It also means that by the time legislators received this data, it was already 8 months old. In a domain where members of Congress have publicly stated they believe they are not receiving complete information, timeliness is not a procedural nicety. It is a credibility test. Here is what AARO's FY2025 report actually demonstrates. The US military is reporting more unidentified anomalous phenomena than ever, 319 new cases in a single fiscal year. AARO is resolving a growing percentage of them, in part through retroactive reclassification tools of uncertain precision. And the cases that matter most, the multi-sensor, multi-witness military encounters involving objects with no flight plan, no transponder, and no identified operator, remain open. The report proves that AARO is doing analytical work. It does not prove that its conclusions follow from that work. A finding of no exotic technology is a reasonable default hypothesis, but stating it as a conclusion while acknowledging that your most significant cases lack resolution is not science. It is framing. The growing caseload tells us something real. The reporting pipeline works. The question is whether the analysis pipeline is built to find answers or to manage a narrative. As of mid-2026, UAP disclosure exists in a paradox. There is more official data than ever, more congressional attention, more military reporting. And yet the institutional conclusion has not moved. The question for informed observers is whether that stability reflects genuine analytical rigor or an architecture designed to absorb anomalous data without ever reaching anomalous conclusions. This report is a document worth reading, all 40-plus pages. Not because it contains a smoking gun. It doesn't. But because the gap between its evidence and its conclusions is itself the story. And that gap is growing.